Welcome to the Operatory podcast, the podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, moving past outdated technology and procedures to find a better way. With me today, as always, is the man himself, David Pryor. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, Bryan, I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Doing really well.
All right.
Doing really well, and I'm excited to be doing the podcast with you today, sir.
Thank you.
And I am very excited about our topic today, too.
All right. Hit me. What are we talking about?
As always, Dave providing the fantastic patient perspective and coming in as a blank slate.
Yes.
Unmarked tablet for us to etch up today.
Right.
And today we are going to talk about I sat down and you know that sometimes I get frustrated with how the world works, right?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about, and I was coming up with, if I was a dentist and I was starting out today, what are the top 5 pitfalls that dentists could avoid that I have fallen into myself? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I was thinking, you know that we always are working on new stuff over here at the opera pad, so to speak, and so we're always trying to solve problems. And I was thinking, what are the biggest problems that if I was a dentist today, not things that we're going to solve, but just what can you avoid?
I don't know how you were able to limit it to 5.
These are on top of my head. So these aren't like, when I say top 5, the first 5 I thought of.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right. I'm sure if I thought about too much, there'd be 50 or 100.
Well, and you'd be curled up in a little ball crying.
Very much so. Yes. So let's get into it.
Okay.
Number 1.
Yeah.
This and we're gonna go in reverse order.
Okay.
Just because
So number
1.
5.
I did put them in order too. So
Okay.
I kind of thought, and then I was thinking about it, that these are probably the top 5. So I'm maybe underselling it a little bit. I did put some thought into it.
Okay.
But so we're going to start with number 5. So number 5
Yeah.
is relying on the dentist to educate patients.
Oh, sure.
And I just talked with another dentist about this today, and I said, I bet when you walk in, the hygienist in front of you tells you exactly what they and the patient discussed. Like, let's say it's a broken tooth. We talked about the broken tooth. We talked about how you'd probably recommend a crown. We talked about there's some decay, and so we're worried about this and that. And then I asked the dentist, I said, let me ask you a question. Do you repeat everything that the hygienist just said back to the patient, right? As they just said it to you, and they said, 100% of the time, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And what are you doing there? Okay, number 1 is you saying, I completely don't, not only am I ignoring the fact that you guys had this conversation and it's annoying that you have to have it again, but I don't value my hygienist enough that even when they tell me they told you about it, I have to discuss it with you too.
Yep.
Completely undermining all that work that the hygienist did.
Yep.
So not only are you probably just reducing your case acceptance dramatically, you're also having probably one of your best employees just look at you with ire and build up resentment over the years.
Well, and God help you if you miss one of the things that they pointed out. So if you're looking over the case notes and you've missed a note that they wrote down, oh yeah, and you need to do this. Oh yeah, you're right. I do need to do that.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that would be brutal.
yes. But I think that sometimes, especially, and this is myself, right? When I first came out of school, every single one of these I'm guilty of at some point in my career. That's how I came up with them, because I can look back and see all the failed opportunities for me dropping in these pit holes, right? Pitfalls. So I would say that, when I started my career many moons ago, I felt like I had the sole directory of knowledge in dentistry, right? And that just, it's not the case. Everybody, and now I'm at the point where it's the exact opposite. I don't think I should say anything to anybody unless it's like a really large, complicated case that I might bring some value to. Yeah. Otherwise, it's like the patient probably wants to talk to them anyway versus me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's number 5.
Yeah.
Number 4, and this is like pervasive in the entire industry, is thinking that being productive is evil. Like charging for your services you feel guilty about because it's bad. People think that, like, if I do a procedure for you and you have to give me $1,000 to do the procedure, there's like a guilt there.
Okay.
Your face is truly blank slate because you're looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, that one, I can't believe you wrestled with that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
I mean, I distinctly remember. So when I was first buying a practice, this is 20 some years ago. I was looking at buying a practice. You probably know the story. This will be a good story for another day because the dentist I was talking to, I had 3 different interviews with 3 different consultants, including a psychiatrist, to make sure that I wasn't some freakazoid to buy this practice. Was all ready to sign the paperwork, and then the guy had a stroke. I don't know if you remember the story. And then somebody swooped in, the hygienist boyfriend, and like they used me and another dentist to value the practice. Totally shady, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
What happened though is when I was talking to my accountant about it, I distinctly remember him telling me that they charged $800 for crowns, and I said to my accountant, "Well, I'll have to lower the fee because I'm not that good." I mean, that's
how times have changed.
Oh, how times have changed. So yes, Dave, I definitely, I was there. My accountant looked at me like, "Are you a total moron?" And yes, I was. And the only difference is that now I actually learned from smacking my head up against walls. Right.
Well, that's good.
I do smack my head up against the walls though, including back then. So yes. Dentists, including myself, not everybody, but there is a pervasiveness, I think, where it's because we're empathetic people, right? And we diagnose people's pocketbooks, not their actual condition. Yeah. And so we feel bad for them. And it leads to people patching teeth versus fixing them.
Sure.
Watching them when they should intervene.
Yeah.
It's pervasive in the industry, and also it's something that I had to overcome. So it made number 4 on the list.
Okay.
So moving on, number 3, and I think this one you might identify with more. Thinking sales is a bad word.
Okay, well, it really falls in line with that last one because I'm like, how can you not feel that your services have value?
You're right. In line, but different.
Yeah.
Here's how I would define it. One is like feeling like you're being productive is evil. The other one is your communication style with people.
Yeah.
Right. Thinking that like I see online in forums people talking about sales and they think, ooh, that's it's we don't do sales in dentistry. We do case acceptance or whatever it is.
Sure.
But we had for people that don't listen to all the podcasts, we had I think one of my favorite podcasts we've done recently was about how if we don't sell people, if we don't influence them to do things that are positive for them, then who's going to do the influencing? It's going to be cigarette companies and soda companies and like all the negative forces out there are going to influence people to do it in their negative interest versus because there's nobody else looking out for the patient's oral health other than us. Right. That's the difference. So one is like thinking that like influencing people is bad, and another one is diagnosing their pocketbook.
Right. Yeah, I think that certainly from my perspective, if you're not looking at it as partially a sales position, you're selling yourself short because
selling your patients short.
Right. And that's exactly where I was going with that. It's you're doing your patients a disservice if you're not able to persuade them that what you're prescribing is in their best interest. And so call it sales, call it persuasion, call it whatever you want to call it case acceptance. But at the end of the day, your ability to persuade your patients to do the right thing, it falls on you.
Yes. We as a species are persuadable.
Yeah.
And so if we don't persuade to the positive, somebody's going to persuade to the negative.
Right.
That's kind of, so I agree with you that the two are similar, but there's enough of a difference that they make 2 of the 5 of the list.
So let me ask you one question. I know that this is on the same subject. Is there a book that you would recommend that you found influential on helping dentists be better at delivering case acceptance and increasing case acceptance?
Great question. Principles of Persuasion is what I believe it's called. And if not, if you Googled that, you would probably get it. I can't even remember the guy that said it. It's Childani, or I think, but I probably butchered his name. But Principles of Persuasion is what I would recommend. I know that There's, I think, Dr. Chris Phelps. He actually does training based on that book for dentists too. I know him a little bit. He's a nice guy. I don't know anything about his course other than I agree that book is great and that he does a good job in general. And so I would assume he does a good job training that material too.
Cool.
So moving on, let's go on to number 2, which is one that we've recently talked about on the podcast. Thinking that clinical quality yields success.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's a pervasive thinking, is that like, if I just take that veneer course, suddenly I will become successful in my practice that's failing, or, patients can't judge success, clinical quality. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast, but I think it's number 2 on our list because it's easy to go to what we think is going to be successful versus the boring, unsexy things that actually yield success, right? It's not making people how they feel is what's going to yield to a successful practice, positively influencing how people feel, not necessarily producing the most beautiful teeth that have ever walked planet Earth. Right.
Yep.
I think you would
back
me up on that one.
I'd back you up 100% on that one because really at the end of the day, I don't think patients are able to determine who's the best at doing anything in dentistry unless they're in the business, right?
All they can really do is determine who's the worst.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're the barrier, the threshold, the standard of excellence in the patient's eyes is having it not suck completely horrible to the point that other people walking around planet Earth can recognize it, not necessarily other dentists.
Right.
Or if it hurts or, that's their bar. So if our bar is what the patient views as quality, it's very low. And because of that, having people aren't walking around looking for the highest quality dentist to make it. Some are, but a very, very small percentage of the population. So you can do it. You can have a super high end practice, but Louis Vuitton, right? So you better have a practice that's Gucci level to which is a very, very small minority of the practices that are out there.
Sure.
So that's number 2.
Yep. All right. What's number 1?
Number 1, and as I say it, I think you'll know that this is probably number 1. It's practicing the same day, multiple days for your entire career. So not innovating. Dave's looking up at the sky. So that means that I'm confusing the entire audience.
Yes.
So sorry about that. Dave's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yep.
So it's not looking to make incremental improvements in your practice in general. So I'll give you an example, right? I just was in seeing a patient yesterday, and on the burr block was one missing burr.
Yeah.
Okay. And that missing burr was one of the 2 burrs I needed to use. So I could have just said, well, guess what? No big deal. I'll let it slide. No. We have a sterilization tech. And so we put in a new policy for the sterilization check to check every single burr block every time and put in a new burr where it's missing. Okay. That next time is going to save 5 seconds or whatever. And over the course of the next year, probably tons of time, therefore money saved, because we put in a policy, and one simple policy for our sterilization check, our sterilization tech, who's already there, already doing a job, just wasn't doing one thing, right?
Yeah.
You can bring it down to how you prep a tooth consistently. You could do it to how, if you have an office tour, if you even have an office tour, if you modify it, if you bring it on another hygienist, just everything. I think pervasive in dentistry is, the reason why I've gotten over the pitfalls 2 through 5 is because I'm constantly looking, how can we incrementally improve? And if you go to your office every day and think, boy, I hope tomorrow's exactly like today, that's what you'll get. And you'll go look back on your 20-year career and go, I just practiced the same day for 20 years. And that is what I think the number 1 problem that dentists have in dentistry, what's keeping their practices It's choking the practices, frankly. And then also their personal growth and their team's growth. And that is why we do a podcast about burying the dinosaurs in dentistry, because what we're looking to do is to get dentists to look and say, oh, where can I improve?
Let me see if I can sound this back correctly, because I think I know what you're saying, but
Which means I just totally failed. So yeah.
yes, you totally failed.
Thank you.
So you've got to have me come in and spell it out. But what I think you're saying, oh, God. I hate this board.
I just got a new board.
This is the worst. My life is going to be a misery now. So what you're saying is, don't let little inefficiencies tag you throughout your career. Nip them in the bud immediately, and then get so that you're regaining time after time after time after time, and over the course of your career, you're going to gain a ton of time back.
Yes. Yeah. No improvement is too small.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Or too big.
Yeah, and I think
right?
either we did a podcast on this before, or it's part of the upgrade dental.
Upgrade dental timeline.
Yeah. It's I remember just having you discuss this, and I thought it was a really significant bit of information, and I get how you can see that as something that is the number one thing, because you're always looking to create that just one more level of efficiency in really everything that you do.
Well, great segue, Dave. Yep. It is within Upgrade.
Yep.
And really Upgrade Dental, for those of you that don't know, is a timeline of all the technologies in dentistry. We call it a growth roadmap. We have a course that's specifically on how to incrementally improve your practice from wherever you are today to the next level, basically, right? And we have 3 different levels, and there's tons of content, tons of fantastic, even including my ideal burr block is included in there as one of them as a supplemental. So go to upgradedental.com for that. And so I'll just recap the top 5, right? Starting with number 5. Number 5 is relying on the dentist to educate patients. 4 is thinking production is evil. 3 is thinking sales is a naughty bad word. 2 is thinking clinical quality yields success. And the number one thing that people blunder within their practices is practicing the same day for 20 years and not creating systems that improve your practice. So thank you very much for listening to the podcast. And for more information on Upgrade, go to upgradedental.com.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you, sir.